Yo, what up, YouTube? It's your boy Young Black. I know it's taking me a while to make videos, but doing what I can. I'm gonna talk about this real quick. For you guys been paying attention lately to the some of the newest stuff for PlayStation. This is the PlayStation Sharpshooter. I did an unboxing for it. I actually been using it, and I gotta say it works really well. I like it. It makes first-person shooters feel very much more immersive. Well, Killzone 3, since that's one of the only main title first-person shooters that it works for right now. Also, Dead Space Extraction, which is a downloadable game, actually. Um, it functions very well. I hear a lot of people complaining about it, but to me, all the complaints are just because people are lazy and they so used to using analog sticks and or just using the PlayStation Move regular outside of the controller. Um, the gun functions very well. It functions very well for Killzone 3. I mean, it basically made all my game dreams coming true. It reminds me a lot of if you ever seen the movie Gamer, how the kid is controlling what's the guy's name? I forgot. He played Leonidas in 300. Whatever. I can't think of his name right now. But the main soldier character in Gamer, his name is Cable, and the kid is controlling his body like as a avatar in a video game with live breathing people. It kind of reminds me of that. It gives you that type of feel, like you're running around a digital battlefield and you actually have control of the soldier just by the mere fact that you're holding a gun, and it's a first-person shooter game where you don't see nothing but the gun basically as your character representation while you're playing the game. So it makes the game feel very much immersive. This is my first experience with the PlayStation Move, and I waited for now because I wanted to use the Move on something that felt more than a mini game or uh, uh, you know just a showcase of what the Move can do. Like the sports games feel kind of like that. It's just showing you what the Move can do, even though it is fun. But there's no storyline. All it does is just track highest score. It's basically a big arcade type of thing for you and your friends and people online can play each other. This was something different. This was a first-person shooter. It felt more realistic with the gun. I mean, it had a learning curve. I can't stunt. I got irritated with it once or twice, but I just stuck with it. And when I got it to work the way I wanted to after I set all the presets to make it comfortable for me. That's another thing in Killzone 3 when you're using the sharpshooter in the Move. It has a lot of settings, so you're gonna have to play with the settings a lot to get the settings that you're most comfortable with. But when you get it to work, it works very well. I have to say I beat the whole Killzone 3 using this. I didn't pick up a controller at all. Every time I booted up my Killzone 3, I would fold up the pull-out. I got a pull-out bed, fold it up, whoop, stand up in the living room. That's another thing I hear a lot of people complaining about, how it makes their arms hurt and this, that, and the third. I said, oh, if you could stand up and play the Wii and play the Connect for hours of a day, hours out of the day, and not really be playing no story-driven games. I mean, the Wii has some that uses the motion controls that are story-driven. You got Zelda out there, the Mario games, mostly all their controls because their main controller for the Wii is a motion controller. The PlayStation and the Xbox aren't like that. Their main control scheme is not a motion controller. At least Sony has the 6-axis, but that's not. It's motion, but it's more like a gyro sensor where you just tilt left and right, or you can push forward. Like it senses limited amount of motion. This was totally different. I mean, when you walk around and you're standing and you're holding the gun and you're proning areas, just scanning over everything, it feels like you're really inside the game. The only gripe I have with this is it's not going to replace um, everything. Like I wouldn't use this in multiplayer just for the fact that it's kind of hard to turn around to see directly behind you because you have to wave the gun to a corner of the screen and it'll turn, and then you have to readjust your aim real quick. So that makes it a little bit difficult. But Killzone has this thing called the bot zone where you could just load up a bunch of bots and basically just set up a bunch of different type. Like a Killzone has Warzone where the mission objective during the online game, it keeps changing randomly. So one thing you might be secure in an area. After a couple more minutes, the mission will change again. Now your team versus another team, and no loading screens or anything. Now your team versus another team will have to assassinate a certain player on the other team. Like it just keeps changing mission objectives, right? And you can do that offline just with bots and AI, and it works very well, and it's really really fun, and it gives you time to train to get used to this. Also, before you start the campaign, or you can do. I just jumped in. I didn't use the bot zone until after I beat the game, and I said, well, what am I gonna do after that? Now I didn't. I'm not really into the online first-person shooter scene right now. There's just too many of them, and they're all pretty good. Um, but I'm just not into first-person shooters like that right now. But I wanted to give this a try just for the enthusiast's sake. I'm an enthusiast with the game, so I said let me give this a try, and it really is revolutionary. It really does make you feel like you're inside the game. I mean, the move vibrates. The gun itself doesn't vibrate, but when you shoot, the move vibrates. And when you shoot on screen, I noticed that even if I hold the gun as steady as possible and shoot, the actual reticle on the screen actually simulates recoil and everything. So it makes sense to actually have to pump your shots instead of just holding down the trigger and just dragging it across the screen. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like you're really holding a gun. And yeah, your arm does get tired, but that's part of the realism factor. I mean, if you're running around with a real gun and you play for like an hour, you're holding a gun for like an hour and you haven't put it down in a war-torn situation like in Iraq or something like that, your arms are going to get tired. Okay, that's why soldiers have to be in shape. Because, yeah, your arms are going to be tired. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call from my parents. Hello? I'm chilling, making a video on YouTube. Why? Nah, I really don't. You alright? I don't got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Alright. Bye. That's the mama. Anyway. This is really good. You guys should pick it up. Excuse the phone call. Really good. Very immersive. Don't listen to everything you're hearing online. I've heard a lot of different reviews for it saying it's pointless. People rather sit on the couch and just hold the I always call this thing a Wiimote. They rather just sit on the couch and hold the PlayStation Move and the navigation controller. And I'm like, yeah, you could do that. It's not as immersive. I mean, come on, you're playing a first-person shooter. I mean, how much more immersive does it feel? I mean, you're actually holding a gun peripheral. You know, a lot of people say gun peripherals really never work that well. This is the best gun peripheral I've ever used. Okay, a lot of stuff they just down stuff. You have to try stuff yourself. All right, and the gun's only worth 40. I mean, the gun is only 40 bucks. I mean, it feels like it's worth more than that to me. The gun. So to me, it's a deal. On top of that, it functions very, very well. This will be the only way I play Killzone 3 offline. If I'm playing offline, I'm going to be using this. I'm not going to use the controller at all. This just feels so much more immersive. I mean, it just feels like you're really in the game. The actions you can do, you can melee. You could actually run up to a guy and then push forward and melee, and it feels very satisfying to melee. And especially if you got a surround sound system and you got a nice big TV, you just stand up in your living room in the middle of your surround sound system, and you just feel like turn the lights off. You feel like you're in a war zone, you know, with awesome sound, and you're holding the motion controller with the sharpshooter connected, and it just feels very, very immersive. It makes you feel like you're in the game. Okay, it really does make you feel like that. I got to give PlayStation props with this. It really does work very well. It does have a learning curve to get used to actually moving your character, his legs basically with the navigation control on the bottom. So that right there is a little difficult, all right? But to turn yourself around and look up and down, you use the motion. So you go up and down, look up, look down, spin around left, spin around right. Oh, that's opposite for you guys on the screen probably, but whatever. You get it. It works very, very well. And I'm just tired of hearing about lazy gamers. I mean, that people say that casual gaming has picked up a lot in the last few years. Yeah, casual gaming has picked up a lot. And hardcore gamers are playing these casual games too. So To me, it seems like gamers are systematically, through the way these games are being made now, they're just getting a little lazy. You know, I mean, everything's gonna have a learning curve. I mean, people complain about, oh, sitting on the couch. This is it. It works a little pretty good, but after a while, my arm started to get sore. Well, that's part of the realism. I'm like, if you're holding a real gun, isn't your arm gonna get sore if you sit there and you're just holding a gun as a soldier in Iraq? Imagine how tired those guys' arms are from sitting there holding their weapon, but their weapon is their life, so they have to be able to hold it and be able to raise it like their life depended on it, because it does. It adds to the realism. I mean, nobody's gonna lose their life in the video game, but it feels good to me that Sony is taking it to that level of realism. You know, it's almost like Sony's gonna be the first company. I think it's like they're gonna make the first system where you basically go inside the game like the Matrix and just walk around, because that's the type of immersion they're trying to give you when they do stuff like this. It wants to make you as close to being inside the game as possible, even though it's limited to a square, that's your television, or a rectangle, that's your television. You know what I mean, right? It's limited to that. It's not like it could be all around you, but it does feel like that with the surround sound, and when you zone out with the lights off with the TV, it makes the game feel like you are really there. I'm just tired of hearing a lot of complaints from people who are just lazy and just don't want to give it, give it a chance. Don't open it and use the settings that you calibrated on your first calibration, and then it doesn't work correctly. Okay, so fool around with the settings more. If you fool around with it, it'll work. Okay, I'm hearing a lot of people on YouTube saying they don't like this, and then when you go to GameStop.com and you look at all the reviews on their website, when you scroll and look at the product, and then you scroll down and you see all the user reviews, people who bought the item and reviewed it through the website, everybody says they love it, that it works well. Okay, so I don't know why everybody else is saying that it doesn't work well. I mean, maybe it's a preference thing. If you prefer the controller and you're just an analog stick guy, that's fine. So that's fine. Just stick with that. But if you're a gamer that's into immersion and wants to feel like you're in the game, and want to be there, want to be as much attached to the game as much as possible, I'm talking sound and atmosphere wise, everything that could just put you there. This helps. This brings you right into that experience. It works very well for Killzone. I decorated one side of mine with Helgas insignia, and then the other side is ISA, just to have it 50-50, because the story in Killzone is I like it. People saying the story is whack. I like the story for Killzone. I'm like, hey, everybody raved over the story for Call of Duty and well, all the Call of Duty, since that's the top selling first person shooter right now. I'm not a Call of Duty guy. I don't like it. I mean, I've been watching movies my whole entire life, and that's one of my things. I love movies, so I've seen so many movies with those same type of stories. So it's like Call of Duty is nothing new. Maybe it's new to gamers being able to play a game that gets that type of a military story head on, like dead on like that. But I've seen so many movies like that. I feel like every time I play a Call of Duty, it's like I've seen this and heard this before. It seems like it's rinse, wash, and repeat to me. I'm like, I just don't like it. It's just not my type of thing. I'm tired of these games being made in war-torn countries like Iraq and Pakistan. It's like, come on, find a more original setting for your games. You know what I mean? That seems like a little bit like it's a little too easy. I mean, it's realistic. It's what's going on in the world right now. But it's just a little too easy. To me, it's a cop-out. Games like Halo and Killzone, they have original stories. I mean, they're war-torn worlds, but they're original stories. And they're not stories in the fact of realism of what's going on in the world right now, per se. But they're original stories, and it takes you away from all the crap that's going on in the world right now. It just seems more creative. I'd rather be on the hover pods in Killzone 3 than riding around in a Humvee and Call of Duty, just because the Humvee is real, it's in real life, and that's the way the military really. That's all cool and fine, but I mean, I'm trying to escape to another game world. Like, I'm not trying to do the same stuff that's happening in real life all the time. That's just because it's bland and whack. Real gamers, stand up. Go pick this up. All right, in the PlayStation Move. Good luck, Sony.